Fellow heroes and Force users of all ages, hello there, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Daniel Dawson, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow Nerf herders, Alyssa Simmons.
Hi, people.
And Dino Nicandros.
Hi, people.
Today we are discussing Episode 8, the finale of Ahsoka, called The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Holy Force Trinity, we got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. The episode was written by Dave Filoni and directed by Rick Famuyiwa, and by God, we're Star Wars fans!
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
God!
Well, we're all here. We have to mention it when it happens.
Yeah,
I know.
It seems like such a rare thing.
I mean, yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, these are exciting times.
These are exciting times.
Mm-hmm. Thrilling.
Indeed.
I mean, so how did everybody feel about the episode in general? I thought it was great.
Oh, so he just asks himself questions. We're like, honestly, like,
All right,
we're
moving on.
moot
We're
here,
accessories.
Dino. Like,
We're accessories to Daniel's madness.
okay, so Daniel liked it as he screamed at you. Dino? Dino?
I'm sweating.
Yeah. Star Wars is just so back.
It's
As if
so
it
back.
went anywhere, but it just feels this whole series just felt like a return to what it's always meant to be.
Oh, yeah.
Don't take that as
No shade on any other properties.
on any of the others,
Yeah.
because
No.
I mean we talked about those exhaustively on this podcast. Go back and listen to those episodes if you wish.
Yeah, if you want
Wouldn't
to. If
you?
you want to know.
We talked exhaustively about how they all
I'm exhausted.
encapsulated a corner of Star Wars, and through tone and through even specific characters, how they achieved different feels. But this one got back to the mystical, mysterious, philosophical Star Wars that I think is at the core of what George Lucas was after in his storytelling. And I'm just so thrilled that we've found. We know where Star Wars goes because we have the sequel trilogy. Like, we do know where a lot of things end up, but so much is left undiscovered in this time period, and I'm really excited to continue on the journey, because I thought Ahsoka just absolutely nailed the look and feel of Star Wars.
Yeah. But like also in just a somehow new and fresh way,
Yes.
kind of, you know? It breathed like new life into it.
Alyssa.
I'm just going to say amen, because I don't think that there's anything that I can add to that. I mean, there is. We always can. But
What a cop-out.
no, I just, I mean, I've borne my testimony so many
She has.
times about this series.
And
so-
to be, she was the first to say it out of not just here, but just the world. She said this was her favorite
I was
Star
the
Wars
first
show.
person ever
Ever
The
to
person
say
have
that.
that thought
Ever
or
to say
feeling
that.
or say it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't even
just
think
think
David
it.
Filoni said that.
I just think it did everything that I like about Star Wars, and it looked cool, and it sounded amazing, and there, and you know, I'll just address this part, I guess, you know, the people that are like, well, what's the plot, or what really was the arc of the season? And I think it was just, I think it's okay to not have things be, how do I want to say this?
Are you gonna cry?
Linear?
Are you okay? Yeah, linear. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's okay, and like what we've talked about so many times of, you know, these like particularly like the Filoni properties, does just a great job of encouraging, exploring, and filling in blanks and shading and coloring these
Mystery.
characters and these stories that we know already. And yeah, it's just thrilling. And I knew that I knew and I hoped that I was gonna like it, but I'm really glad that I loved it.
Oh,
And
God, I am too.
and I just because we
were all
a
so
little, we were a little
nervous.
nervous because like Ahsoka, has already been through so much.
Yeah,
w-
a lot of trauma.
between Clone Wars and Rebels, and but yeah, you said it the best, Dina. What a triumphant return to Star Wars.
What am I, chopped liver?
You
Yes.
didn't say that sentence.
Oh, that's
You're
so-
not
I
even
didn't
chopped liver. You're just the whole liver.
Oh,
liver.
God. Not even with
Your-
onions?
Your liver and raw onions. You're not even.
Oh,
But
God.
Alyssa, what you were saying about maybe the arc not being linear, or to kind of extrapolate on that, I've seen complaints that you kind of ended where you started, and I couldn't disagree more, to be honest. Just because, not with you.
Yeah, no, with the
commentary.
people who say that. Yeah,
Alyssa, I don't think you
I
are
literally
smart.
think that you
at
need
all.
to get the
I
actual
really-
out of here.
You're
Get
you
out of
might
the
as
You're an
well
actual
just
moron,
end
and why we humor your opinions is beyond me.
Turn your computer off. Just get out. Thanks.
No, but I do take exception to that critique because at the end of the day, as you really you stated
another
it really
day.
well, Alyssa, Filoni does everything very purposefully, and all the characters ended up where they needed to be to achieve the most growth.
Oh yeah.
What
so
if he
just
did this
because-
all on accident?
Just because
Whoops.
Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka switched places, that's ultimately what happened.
Yeah. The guys
Yeah,
that came to
truly.
save him are now where they were.
But as Ahsoka says to end the episode, Ezra's where he needs to be, and we're
are
where we need to be, and I absolutely believe that because
Yeah.
now Ahsoka's chief concern at the moment is making Sabine better,
Right.
which she seemingly felt like she
And what
she
like
failed
an
at doing.
insane opportunity that they're like literally stranded on this planet. They don't know where they are even. They know that Baylan's around. They know
Yeah.
like they both. It's obvious. And we can get more into this, but like they both can feel some things
Right.
happening. There.
Right.
But
Now let's get into it.
But yeah, I mean, what an ideal situation for them to find them, and not ideal, but like ideal because
Right.
the sole focus right now is going to be Sabine's training,
Yeah.
and
Well,
Ahsoka and Ahsoka is finally in a place where she's not coming at it from fear or from stress. She's like, I am ready to be the master that you need.
Yeah.
And that's like incredible.
And also like just her being on that planet, potentially dealing with what could be an even greater threat than what Thrawn is, which is like tantalizing to my imagination.
Yeah, and Ezra being able to return to the galaxy, getting home, but also he can continue his, aiding in the fight against the Empire, which was kind of what that's what led him to where he ended up to begin with. Was
Sure.
Yeah.
So everybody's priorities kind of align with where they are, and obviously Ahsoka, I don't think they planned on being stuck, but you can see from her
She kind of
demeanor,
knew that could be a possibility,
yeah,
obviously.
but her demeanor and outlook is, I think this worked out, and I think it's going to work out, and that's ultimately what leads her to forgive Sabine for acting so rash in going to save Ezra to begin with, because she did screw up. I mean, Thrawn returned,
Whoops.
and
But she never once admonished her for it, which is
No.
No.
No, because
very interesting.
Well, and she even said, like, if you wouldn't have taken the risk, if you wouldn't have gambled in the way that you would have, Ezra wouldn't be home.
Right.
Right.
So,
And I think she might be seeing, the bigger picture, potentially, or being open to the bigger picture, because I think she does sense something. She may also sense, she hasn't really said it, but like at least in that last moment, it kind of feels like maybe she did sense that there's something greater there, like that. I mean, I know that at the end she also, I think, sensed her master watching over her too. That,
right,
like,
but there was definitely something else, because
Something else.
Sabine felt it
Yeah.
first. She was like, "What did she say?" She said something like, "It's a shadow."
Shadows and starlight.
Shadows and starlight.
Shadow
Which, I
moving
mean, you
around,
know,
yeah.
I think that she probably could be referring to, cause maybe there's a chance that she might potentially meet her, like she might also get to meet, like,
Yeah,
like, you know, so because like this is my master
Yeah.
and Force Ghost, for, you know what I mean, like they'll have a scene together at some point. That would be
I think
very,
that's what she was referring to. But
yeah. But that being said, I think that perhaps that she does sense there's a sense of ease because her master's Force Ghost is here, but also that there might be a reason that she was kept here. Yeah.
Can I tell you we're jumping all over the place, but can I tell you
fine.
the part of the episode that like
Wowed you
actually
the most?
made me cry?
Oh, there was numerous actually for me.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
got
what was
emotional.
yours?
I mean, I got emotional when Sabine came back for Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
I got emotional seeing Morgan Diana fight because
she's so good.
Holy crap.
Fuck.
I mean, that is just like mastery. Like, I don't know any other way to say it, but just the way that she moves, it is so. And how, like, I just kept thinking about how, like, overwhelming that must have been for Rosario Dawson to be like,
Oh my God.
I'm literally fighting with Bruce Lee's goddaughter. Like, what? Like, what?
No pressure, obviously.
No, the part that really messed me up in a great way was Chopper coming towards Ezra.
Oh, it was so sweet. And being like the first to trust. He's like,
He
I
knew.
know.
Well,
I've
I
seen
mean,
this before.
We always know, like, you know, the droids in a lot of ways are similar to, like, our pets.
Dogs, yeah. Uh-huh.
And so to have him be the one that, like, knew right off the bat and to go to him, like, I don't know, that really just
It was
messed
very
me up.
sweet. Yeah.
It was so
He's like, yeah,
sweet.
this is the oldest Ezra trick in the book.
Yeah, so true. And Hera's, you know, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's reaction to him was
it was perfect.
wonderful.
So sweet. Yeah.
Is it too much to have asked for a hug? Did we have?
I know. That was
They
such a
cut
tease.
away. They cut away right before. We got the hug with Ahsoka and Ezra, so I think that they were
I'm sure
like,
that exists on the cutting room floor somewhere for sure. We'll probably we're gonna see that in where they're like we'll hold it for. Well,
and,
okay.
like, Ezra's obviously gonna train Hera and Kanan's kid, right? I mean, that's coming, right?
That has to happen.
That has to
Probably.
happen.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
like
have
a full like circle Star Wars moment.
Yeah.
So
It's poetry. It rhymes. There's a I am curious to hear what you guys are thinking about for the future of these series. Do we feel like, I mean, is Ahsoka going to have a season 2, and is it going to involve all the characters, or is season 2 of Ahsoka going to be its own thing, like on that planet, and now like we're getting yet an even other show with Thrawn and the other kids in the other galaxy, or are we just going to have this kind of like disjointed storyline where you get one episode on this planet and another episode on the other planet, and you know, kind of a la like Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, where we're like splitting up all of the parties, kind of in a sense.
I feel like it's gonna be that until they're all back in one place. Yeah,
We're just kind of like telling this sort of like,
because I don't think there's been. I mean, there hasn't been any announcements right now, obviously.
No.
But like, I don't think that even when there were, we knew that like Thrawn was getting his own show or.
right. No. Yeah, at this point.
I think this was all just kind of like, this is obviously like, you know, Rebels season.
Yeah, right.
5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so let's think. We've got Mandalorian season 4, which is in the pipeline.
Yeah, is it that has been officially
Yeah,
announced?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, that Celebration, I think.
So
right?
we've got that.
I
in
don't
the
remember honestly.
We've got that in the pipeline, and I have to assume with Thrawn's return to the galaxy that'll maybe pick up that thread. While Ahsoka deals with her training, if we do indeed get a season 2, that it would deal with her training Sabine, but also dealing with whatever Baylan and Shin end up getting up to.
Right.
And we'll talk about that more in detail because I kind of want to weave through the episode. But
Yeah.
But and then the storylines converge in Dave Filoni's movie would be my guess.
Yeah.
That feels right.
And end with Filoni's movie.
We'll probably get some little dips here and there, like, cameos here, cameos there, but yeah, for the most part, they won't really join up.
Yeah,
until...
so I think Mandalorian will pick up the Thrawn storytelling and use that as a way to weave those characters into it, and then have Ahsoka season 2 be off on Peridia and
Yeah.
Okay,
and
so
I think
you're
that's
more on
compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
think
more
that's-
on
I do
board
too.
with the
That
two
seems-
separate
Yeah.
stories.
That seems like it makes sense.
And
I
it
just
also
don't think a new show is going to be covering one
'Cause
or
that would
some
probably-
of those storylines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You might
think
be
I'll be-
spreading
I'll be-
yourself a little too thin.
I'll be curious too because we also have Skeleton Crew coming out, which takes place around
right.
the same time.
Yeah.
And while I don't expect it to
interesting.
deal with a lot of the huge plot points, it depending on when exactly it's set, either parallel to Mando or just after, that might also shed light on what's going on.
where they're going.
More large.
That remind me again. Is
Broadly.
that's a TV show?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, yes.
more
Right.
geared towards kids, but yes,
Sure.
it's a live action TV show.
Right. I'm thrilled. and I
But
can't wait.
so the cold open on this episode was
I got so many chills.
that was porn for Star Wars animated
Oh
fans.
my god! I
Really?
was so excited to see that. The second they started chanting the same thing that Mother Talzin started, I was
Yes.
like, oh,
Oh.
bitch.
Yeah.
it was really fantastic, and what a great moment for Diana's character.
Oh man, I love her reaction was beautiful. There was a
Yeah.
great acting moment because you could sense the reverence, but also there was fear too because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that the weight of what it means, and I think that the mystery of it because we don't really know what that means either. Technically, is she because she's giving up her life, for whatever that means to her, what is she actually becoming? I know she's becoming a Night Sister of old with the magic with the K. But yeah, you could just see it in her face. There wasn't a sense of yay, I'm so excited, I can't wait to do it. She
Well,
was
and-
oh
and-
shit.
Yeah, it was
And we
scary.
learn her broader motivation is the preservation of her people, and that
Yep.
becomes
Right.
very apparent in this episode.
Her
She's straight upset when Thrawn says for the Empire, and he walks away, and then she says, for Dathomir.
yeah.
Like-
Yeah, no, this isn't for you.
And I love that this is yet another instance where the villains in this series all have goals that somewhat align, but they're all using each other as means to an end.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's
and
much
obviously-
more interesting that way to see it.
an
see it that, not
unholy
just
alliance. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I am kind of curious too if you thought I know this is a little jumpy, but if you kind of noticed that it felt like the other mothers I sort of sensed that there was a hint of I don't know if I agree with that. And
when he bombs the Citadel.
yeah. So I was there was a twinge of I'm I'm not sure if I sit well with that. I'm in like there is like it's like a hint of a breakup, a bad breakup coming.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be, and also just they both made literal deals with the devil. You know, Thrawn made a deal with the literal devil, and vice versa. And I think everybody's gonna. Thrawn will have that moment where he makes the realization that, you know, maybe when this army of the undead awakes, maybe I made a boo-boo, but
Oops.
Yeah.
I'm glad you actually brought.
He's so focused on getting what he wants.
I'm glad you brought it up because I think at this point, especially since we finally got our army of the dead, because I was thinking, because there was kind of a nice misdirect the last episode, the penultimate. We thought that we were going to get that, and then it didn't happen. We're like,
completely refuted it. They're all alive.
It's like, oh, okay.
I was very and
they're living.
I was very surprised by that, but
I'm really glad we got to see them.
Ooh, that was so scary and fun.
Kill and then reanimate, and then like not
get
die
shot in the
either.
face.
I mean, I guess like really the only way that they were really like dead was a chopped head off.
And not to mention too, I thought that for a second it was like, oh, they're gonna make this like, you know, kind of family friendly, and for the most part they did. But like there was a part where like the mask was like partly broken, and you could see like the jaw like severed from his face.
And
like,
hearing them growl through their microphones was really unsettling. Like all those little details were. I never imagined seeing that in live action Star Wars. And
oh my god,
yeah, it was really
fucking cool as hell.
Really fantastic.
So my question for you though is, the capsules that are being loaded onto the ship. There is a running theory that. I mean, because I think the obvious thing is we're thinking, oh, yeah, they're just like a bunch of coffins with dead bodies in them. But is it possible that they also might be just like in, you know, what do you call it? Stasis.
Hibernation. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was a little hint that, and I was like, my ears perked up because it was like such a fast little one line from Ezra about Thrawn arriving and then like waking up the mothers or whatever, right? He said something about waking them up, and I was like, how did he do that?
Oh,
like
I
wake them up from the dead, or waking them up like from stasis? Or
I heard he found the mothers, but maybe I.
No. Like he said he
waking up,
woke them up like or in like in those words, yeah. And it was just an interesting turn of phrase, and it made me wonder whether or not they were dead to begin with, or if they were just like I was saying, like in stasis, and you know, perhaps like they you know, whatever happened on this planet, they got spooked and said we need to leave, and then at least most of them left, but then they left some of them behind. So like in the case that the other people, like, you know, if they figured out how to fix this problem, they could come back and help them, ? I don't know. I think I'm reaching, but I'm just curious whether or not if these capsules are filled with living Night Sisters or dead ones. But either way, it feels like we're getting them back. In some way, shape, or form.
and because they're, you know, they were all stored in the catacombs. You know, my first reaction to that is they're probably these are probably dead.
And they said that too, like they were in the catacombs.
Yes, yeah, they were. In the catacombs. So I think, and I think that, you know, bringing the stormtroopers back to life was a preview of
look
coming
at
attractions.
The literal. The
Look
literal
at what
horror.
we can do.
Yes, we are bringing horror to
So
Star
that
Wars.
that cold open was really terrific, and it ends with such a great shot of those two TIE fighters like whizzing past Thrawn's head. And I was like, oh, stop, Filoni, stop, and Famuyiwa, just stop it.
Yeah, there was in this entire series there was so much beautiful symmetry going on with their shots. Like it was gorgeous to look at. Yeah, the shot of the ship, you know, with the temple.
I wish that we could have gone to one of the screenings.
Oh, me too. I know. Same. Oh well.
Also interesting that Thrawn's talking with Morgan in that same scene and says, I too have kind of, I'm paraphrasing, fallen victim to the adventurism of and heroics of Jedi, and never again.
Never again.
So we'll see how he chooses to deal with them going forward. But
what a threat.
Yeah.
I feel threatened.
I feel attacked.
Oh man, was it spooky?
I loved the scene with Ezra, Sabine, and Huyang.
Oh,
where
me
we
too.
get even
Yeah,
more
that was
insight into just how long Huyang's been around.
Huyang's been around, yeah.
What his responsibility is. We know he's been around for tens of thousands of years, but
He's so wise.
Ezra was like, "How old are you?"
but to bestow, well, number one, to show how far Ezra has come as a Jedi. Like he's legit, knows how to build his lightsaber, which we already knew, but
Like quickly.
Not to mention,
too.
this is like kind of maybe my own. I don't know if it's a fault with it. I just like wish that they had explained it more, or had like a Huyang like say something about it, because like the choosing of the kyber crystal, like at least in the Clone Wars show, like was very. They made it like this is a very special thing that happens.
it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage. You go to the planet of wait, shit. I
Where is
forget
that?
that.
Oh, was it
Ithilum? Ithilum? No.
Yeah, Elam.
Elam. Thank you.
Elam.
That's
ILUM.
right.
Yep.
Yep.
Where Starkiller Base is eventually built.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go to Elam. You pick out the kyber crystal, like picks you, and then and then you have to kind of like commune with it, sort of, and then like, but like, does like Huyang just like have a drawer of kyber crystals just sitting around, and he's just like, yeah, you could use this one. This is a spare. I mean, I guess that's possible, and
I mean,
like
keeps
he's
the
like,
hilts. Why not?
yeah, I suppose. I mean, I guess the fact that that Ezra found and like and was just like, yeah, this one will work, and then puts it in and it works. Like I kind of potentially either just shows how good he is at the Force, how good he is at the Force now, or it just shows that they're kind of diminishing how special choosing a.
I'd probably lean more into your first point that he's probably just
really good. With the
what
Force
we see
now.
Ezra is so much more in tune with nature too. I mean,
Yeah.
his
way
skills
more.
without a lightsaber. I mean, he's really developed a oneness with his environment out of necessity.
Yeah.
So I think I actually absolutely buy the explanation that
He's just real good.
that he's just real good, and then to be presented with a copy or a twin of Kanan's hilt is
That's cool.
chef's kiss.
Yeah, that's cool.
How special is that?
I just in my
very
head was
special.
like, I don't think they have the time to go into the kyber crystal thing right now. So I think
Yeah.
that's why.
No.
I think it
Yeah,
was like a logistical thing, but I buy that Ezra's just that
but
gifted.
I suspect if
Well, we're gonna get
what we-
Sabine, like, learning how to do that and stuff too. So maybe they'll go more into it there.
and Jason too, potentially.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I imagine if Dave Filoni, of what he's been giving us so far is any indication, like and the fact that he is trying to, connect the dots between now and the sequel trilogy, we could
Right.
totally see Ilum like before and see the First Order slowly taking it over, maybe. That would be
Well,
neat.
we see that. Don't we see that in the first Jedi Survivor game?
Oh wait, did
isn't
we?
he on?
He does go to Ilum,
'cause
doesn't he?
there's where he goes to find his kyber crystal, and the Empire shows up. So we've already kind of seen the beginnings of the
That
First
they're
Orders.
there.
Yeah, what the First Order basically takes over whatever the Empire
The
was,
remnants of that.
was trying to do.
Sure.
I think you saw the beginnings of the Empire building something like Starkiller Base, which
Yeah, I guess what they didn't make apparent in the game was if it was like, just a base, or because like just for the sake of being like, oh, this is a place that's special to the Jedi, let's like make sure that they never come back, kind of thing. Or if they're like, oh, we're gonna make this into a giant like star killing machine. I don't know. I'd be curious to know like when that idea like was like, I got an idea, why don't we build a bigger Death Star? They love those things.
Yes, so that was it. That was a wonderful scene, and then the action just kind of really ramps up, and I love that we start to see the scary Sherlock Holmes come out of Thrawn.
Oh God!
In respect to he says it very explicitly later, but he anticipates how Ahsoka's going to act based on his interactions with her master, and going quote unquote right through the front door.
Yeah,
is a very Anakin thing to do. It's like, well,
very bold.
What's all this trickery? Let's just go. Let's just walk in the front door. Like, what's the big deal? And how he will, eventually continue to use that against her, I think is really compelling. And
you saw it for the first time, like him putting like that in literally in her face, like he's like, okay, yeah, before I leave, I'm just gonna get on the intercom and be like, yeah, bitch, you're fucking like Darth Vader's Padawan. How does that feel?
and drops the remark that it'll be really interesting to see if you become what he became.
Like he is playing with her emotions so hard because he knows that's a really smart move, because it's a
emotional manipulation at its best.
Exactly. Yeah, like it is the master manipulator. You know exactly which buttons to press. You just want to get her like to the point where she's so pissed off that she does become vulnerable enough to potentially become what her master became. That
or just make mistakes. Be careless.
Just be careless.
Just get her in her head.
Yep. It's working.
But really, prior to them kind of hatching their plan to just to hitch a ride out of there. I loved the scene we got with Ahsoka and Sabine, and where she imparts wisdom on her in the sense that my Anakin never abandoned me. He was the only one.
I also very much loved that scene.
Yeah, it was great.
And Alyssa mentioned it earlier in the episode that she didn't admonish Sabine for.
Actually, I said that, but that's...
Oh, I'm sorry, Daniel. You said that.
You have to credit Daniel, or else he's gonna freak out.
I know you're really upset.
No, you are correct.
You guys keep ignoring me.
I just assume.
Never.
I just assume you have nothing of value to say. I'm sorry.
You're
No.
right.
As Daniel said prior,
Thank you.
that Ahsoka doesn't admonish Sabine for acting that way, because she reflects on how many times Anakin acted that way and then allowed Ahsoka to act the same way, and how it yields results. At the end of the day, just if you trust in the Force, you're going to end up where you're supposed to be. And
Right.
I thought that was really important for the setup of the second half of this episode, but also their relationship going forward.
I just remembered. I don't know if you caught up on this, because it felt like it was a very subtle, sly, like wink and a nod. Because she's like, "Have you been keeping up with your training?" And she said, "Like I do." Like she kind of emphasized, "I do." Like
I
you know,
do.
because there is no try.
Yeah.
Do or
Well,
do not.
and
that's
like,
I do.
That's a great point,
in
because
the sky. Also the drowsy chaperone.
maybe this is me projecting too much
projecting
onto what was said in this scene, but Ahsoka says to Sabine, "There's a lot more to being a Jedi than your skills with a lightsaber."
It's how you dance.
I couldn't help but wonder if that was Filoni's very subtle and quiet way of saying, yeah, the pew pew and all of that is really fun, but you're missing the point.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily directed at any one group or another, but it's what George Lucas had always said from the very beginning in his storytelling. All of this is window dressing, and it's fun, and it gives color and shape to these stories. But at the end of the day, it's
family.
Yeah, the philosophy of a Jedi is, can be imparted to any major religion on Earth, which is, do unto others as, you'd want them to do to you. And that's
Giggity.
And that's what and that's what Ahsoka's basically saying here to Sabine, is that, it's those skills are, a complement to what's really important. And that's also something that gets paid off minutes later when they're fighting their way through the undead, where Ahsoka in real time is seeing Sabine kind of struggle with trying to be a quote-unquote Jedi. It's just like, Sabine, pull out the gun, for God's sake.
Use the blasters.
Use the
Do
gun.
what you do well.
Do what you do well. And that's what makes Ahsoka such a wonderful master.
Yeah.
And what made her
play to
her
your
master.
strengths.
Yeah, play to your strengths. Like, you got nothing to prove to anybody. Just do what comes naturally, and it'll all work out.
What comes naturally. You knew that was coming.
As it was coming out of my mouth.
You knew it. You had to do that. That's your fault.
But
it's your fault.
you don't get two.
We're gonna get a couple. We're gonna get a couple out of the way, and then we move on.
No, you don't get two in a row. That is strike one.
It takes two. Okay.
The same musical. Oh no.
I'm
You should have done Hairspray. It takes two, and then it would have been.
Oh yeah, that would have been good. Damn it. I would say.
Welcome to Perea.
I would say probably 80% of the musical quotes that we've put on this show are Into the Woods.
Yeah, it just lends itself so well.
I think we have said Into the Woods many times on this podcast.
Numerous times, yes.
So yes, I love how that dynamic has finally taken full shape. And
I have a question.
Yes.
I
have an answer, I'm sure.
Well, please. So we barely got any of Baylan, really the last two episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, we did get like a little chunk of him in the penultimate.
Yeah, we got a good old fight in the last.
Which was nice. But then it's almost nothing for the last episode, and I'm curious if you think any of him landed on the cutting room floor, like because they may be making changes, or at this point, like I don't see how they move forward without recasting him, like, right?
Well, I actually don't think anything ended up on the cutting room floor outside of what would normally be edited out for time constraints and just flow of an episode, because he died not long before the show released, so I don't think they were editing episodes.
You don't think they would have posthumously like
no,
edited.
And I think the reason there will be an Ahsoka season 2 was they had him in mind for that, to be,
of course,
kind of her counterpoint. And your point is well taken, Daniel. I do think they recast, and actually, as I was sitting awake last night, I was thinking
they called me, but I told them I wasn't
They
available.
called me, and I told them I need 20 years, and
I won't do drag. So
I won't do drag.
It's
or
against
anything
my religion.
medieval. I have
You
things
look
against.
great with a beard, though.
Ew.
You look really hot with a beard.
Homo.
Yes.
What are you, gay, bro?
Fucking gay. Yes, that's right.
But I was, as I was laying awake last night, I was kind of thinking about. Well, number one, I can't believe that was the last shot of Baylan or Ray Stevenson as Baylan we'll ever see, and we'll talk about the shot later when we get to it. But
yeah, you couldn't.
That
ask
made
for
me
more
that made me really sad.
really sad. Totally.
He's been one of the MVPs of this show.
We've
kind
said
of
it-
darker Qui-Gon. I mean, like
Yeah.
We have said it. Like I think you can go back and edit all of our episodes together at all the times we have praised that man. My God, he's so good.
But I mean, what a loss for everyone, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking about it, so I do think they recast. I think they have to, because it's very clear they want to make him an important part of what's going on Peridia.
Yeah,
And they can't
potentially
just be
universe.
like,
Russell
oh, there's another
Crowe?
person here.
Oh my God, Russell Crowe. That's interesting.
Or
Something
Gerard
tells me
Butler?
that I have a feeling they're probably not going to go with somebody that is a well-known name, but maybe.
I'm just thinking of people that fill out his body type and his
the structure.
general and the reason Russell Crowe just came to my mind is you slap a white beard on him and just his acting style in general. He's very contemplative and
it is similar for sure.
Yeah, I could
maybe
absolutely see
maybe
that.
it is too big, but I don't think. I'm not sure that would take me out of it. We all.
I think
know.
that would be.
We all, just
we all
have to
know
move
it's going to be
forward.
someone different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will be. I fear them like hiring big names because that takes away budget from other really important things.
but it wouldn't take more budget away than trying to CGI his face back in.
Yes, please don't do that.
Please, God, don't do it.
Don't do that.
I don't
It's
think that's
fun
necessary.
It's fun for a couple minutes
a
here
little
and there.
second, but any longer, we know it's not a person.
No,
so.
I mean,
And we know based on there's evidence on screen of where the budget went when they did that.
Yes.
And
yes.
things suffer elsewhere because they
Correct.
spent hours and hours and hours trying to face swap. But anyway, I digress. Ultimately, I think. What do you think, Alyssa? Do you?
Yeah, it's got to be recast.
Yeah.
They can't. They're obviously they're on Peridia. They're really far away. No one has ever been there before.
Yeah, right.
So,
I mean,
and
literally. I mean,
no
like,
one knows
'cause
how to get there. So
I'm sure they
yeah.
could figure out a way to like sort of like sadly kill him off in the first, but that would feel so cheap and weird.
No.
Like just
No,
like
the
you get back to
relationship-
season 2 and the hand that he's standing on breaks. And that's just it. He's just gone. I don't
No.
think they're gonna do that.
No, that'd be terrible.
And I think the way you honor Ray Stevenson is by continuing the character's story. You don't erase it.
It's his
because-
legacy.
Right.
Yeah. You're literally giving him,
Although I
like,
say that, and I feel like I'm contradicting myself because I had a very different view about Black Panther. But I draw
Yeah.
the distinction there with the fact somebody else takes up the mantle of Black Panther anyway.
Yeah.
There is
Yes.
precedent
And that's-
for that. So
Totally.
that's how I
And-
justify that. But
Yeah, that's such an interesting thing. And they might even like, well, no. Listen, it worked for Harry Potter and
Yeah.
Dumbledore.
it did.
I think
Yeah, we all. It was. They were similar enough, and
Yeah.
Michael Gambon was
Also, rest in peace,
also
Michael
rest in
Gambon.
peace.
Yeah, I know, so sad. Although I do wish I could have heard the first Dumbledore's
Richard Harris.
Yeah, Richard Harris's line reading of "Did you put your name in the goblet of fire?"
Harry, did you
I
put your
think
name
it
in
would have
the
been a
goblet of
lot
fire?
more gentle.
Harry, did you put your name in the goblet of fire?
Screaming.
Holy shit!
Whoa, calm down, Dumby.
He got it. He got into the coffee at the concession stand a little too early.
Somebody else didn't do it for you.
Holy.
Whoa.
That was the
I love
toned down
Michael Gambon.
like cut too. They
Just slaps him.
Yeah.
it shakes him and slaps him. You fucking bitch.
Yeah. No, they've
so-
got to recast, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll get someone awesome.
Ah,
Yeah,
God
I have no doubt.
willing.
Um,
And Lord knows they may. That process has probably already begun because maybe not though because of the
Not
strike.
right now. Not right now.
I mean, the process has begun in the sense they're probably sitting
They're
around.
thinking about people.
Yeah,
like,
maybe they
sure.
got
casually
names.
texting one another.
Yeah, list
Hey,
of
like-
names.
And
And
they
the
and the
writers are back now. Writers
Yeah.
are back. So
Well,
that conversation
when
is
did-
happening.
I can look this up. I don't want to.
Although it's interesting, I wonder because like Dave Filoni is the writer. I mean, I know that he had like a team of writers.
But when
working
did
with
Ray
him.
Stevenson pass away? Was it in
Let's see.
May or June? Because it could have been pre-strike anyway. I'm
Oh,
sure they had to
yeah.
think about it pretty quickly. Anyway,
It was May 21st.
May. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be pre-strike.
Oh my God! It was only like 4 days before his birthday. Oh, so sad.
I was really young too.
He was young.
Rest in power, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
But going forward in the episode, I loved. There's a real good bit of comedy when the TIE fighters descend upon them and half disable the ship, and this is just after the speech Ahsoka has given Sabine about do what comes naturally, and
yeah, but that maybe not
then
that.
takes the ship and the remaining power and collides with the TIE fighters in a really brilliant maneuver, and then just watching it crash.
Yeah, he's like, well, I did it.
And I thought the editing was really great on that.
That was pretty
She looks
funny.
back at like the smoldering ruins. It's like, worked.
And again, Ahsoka being
God.
very patient and being like,
Yes.
yep,
Yep,
you did.
you sure did. You sure did.
that.
Yep.
Mhm. Good
It's like
for
a dog
you.
having to poop, and it goes on the floor, but you're just happy
Yes.
that it
Yeah.
went.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay,
good
well,
that.
that's good.
And
It's not the
Ezra's
right spot, but
Ezra's line after that reminded me so much of Rebels era Ezra, just being like,
he
well,
he was really getting.
I don't think I have to mention it, but this does put us back quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, Ezra.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All of your
Kind of
contributions.
he's so naturally gifted in the Force, and he's so strong in so many ways, but sometimes emotionally, I'm like,
Yes.
gosh, you're such an idiot.
yeah,
Yeah.
you are a dork.
Such an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
But it's
know.
cute.
The girls know.
It's
the girls know
absolutely
that
adorable.
It absolutely has changed.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
freaking.
anyways.
But then they try to kick down the front door of the, so to speak, of the Citadel, and we learned that Star Destroyer turbo laser operators have as horrible aim as stormtroopers do. So,
right?
Bless.
but what a friggin'! I was like, oh
That
my
was
god,
so
this is
cool
like the kind
looking.
of scene I would come up with like 6 years old in my bedroom with my action
Right.
figures, and felt like a video. I mean, in a great way, it felt like a video game.
So very much so, though. Yeah. Yeah. There was like levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
then kept getting amped, and then you had the boss fight. You know.
Right, and then you have the the quick instance of Ahsoka encouraging Sabine to do what she can to help out, and it's just a great way of teaching. You have your two experienced Jedi kind of shouldering the load and kind of taking the pressure off Sabine. It's like, help out how you can, and this is how you learn. And then the House of Horrors.
Literal House of Horrors.
Now, interesting. There's a quick cutaway with Thrawn and the Night Sisters, and you see like a battalion of stormtroopers. And this was the most unnerving bit of the episode to me, but also speaks to Thrawn's influence, where he asks Morgan. Yep.
To make the ultimate sacrifice.
Well, no, not yet. He's talking about the stormtroopers, where he's like, do they understand? And she was like, yes,
Yeah.
they volunteered.
That's so scary.
We talked about it a little bit when we were kind of speculating whether the stormtroopers remaining with Thrawn were an army of the undead or if they were kind of a cult. Now we know. Like,
But
this
I
is
mean, isn't this nice? Like, even like on the spooky side of the Force, like we're all talking about consent. It's very important.
Thrawn, if nothing else, values consent.
Well,
So that's nice.
He's engaged
his
in mass
only-
murder, but
his only nice quality.
but he believes
the
in
only
consent.
thing.
Never let it be said
Never let it be
that
said.
He
Grand
didn't
Admiral
ask.
Thrawn didn't ask if he could kill you.
It's interesting though because like I wonder in, I mean, Is that him? Is that like his vibe across the board, or is it just for this? Because like this is like a really spooky ask. So like maybe you should.
Well, Thrawn does have a history. Even if you're going back to the non-canon, what's considered non-canon versions of him, he's always, at least in the news on books I've read, that kind of fill in the gaps on how he came into the galaxy and whatnot. He's always had a great amount of respect for those who serve under him.
So he's not like authoritarian. He's more just like a respected general.
He's vicious to his enemies, but to his underlings, he's very nurturing is not the right word, but almost. but almost.
Sure.
And there are instances in the books where he really encourages his officers to think independently and object. He's like, that's how we're all gonna learn, is by. So I do think there is some sincerity here, but really the whole point of the scene, I think, just reflects that in the over 10 years he's been gone, that this has now become a cult of personality on the Star Destroyer, that these people are viciously devoted to him. So much so that they're like, yeah, we'll go die so you can bring our corpses back to life.
Yikes.
Like,
and I guess like
you can't buy that power.
Yeah, maybe there is a land where at least some of those stormtroopers were thinking, or sorry, night troopers were thinking, yeah, I'm gonna survive this. Yeah, the zombie thing, sure. I mean, I guess. Well, and also they might be thinking that, it might also be, there might have been some misinformation thinking like, oh, like meaning like I can never die. Like this is gonna be like I'm
immortal now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an immortal thing. Like, sure, that sounds great. Not really knowing that they're gonna come back as sort of like a lifeless husk of a being,
sure. I'm sure there's some of that. It's frightening that I think the best way.
Would you agree to that?
Would I agree to come back as a lifeless husk?
Yeah.
No.
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 Certainly not.
Not even to fight for Alyssa's right to party?
No, especially then.
No.
She doesn't. She can do what she wants.
She doesn't deserve to party at all.
She doesn't deserve to party. No, but I think it's setting up that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, that is very cool.
It makes Thrawn an even more compelling counter to Force users, because all he has is his brain and his influence, and so to show people willing to do this for him, I think really evens the playing field quite a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it is a very different vibe from just normal stormtroopers, which pretty much like that were, and also the First Order, like they're kind of guys that maybe would have rather have not been there.
Well,
but
they're orphans.
They're orphans, exactly.
These were all orphans who were abducted.
Right. So, Finn, for instance, you know. So it is a very, very different vibe and much more dangerous.
Yeah, well, someone is always more dangerous when people believe in that person.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, again, cite our own history for that fact.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about a lot of I'm such as like many like holy wars that have happened throughout the years. And I bring that up because of like there's been numerous religious connections to this particular series, and yeah, also just the title of the last episode being a wink to The Lion, Witch of the Wardrobe, which is also a wink to like the Bible story, more or less.
No, C.S. Lewis never writes anything biblical.
He's not an allegory writer. That's not what
You're
he
wrong.
does. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering if like not wondering. It's I think it's pretty clear that that Filoni is writing like an allegory of an allegory.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and he used, as we've talked about, he's used multiple allegories to write about an allegory.
Right.
So we're just
That
allegory.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That man knows his allegories.
He sure does. One giant allegory.
seeing 3 Jedi in the same room for the first time in a very long time was
also very cool.
Just, I mean, give that to me all day and twice on Sundays.
Mwah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's I was gonna say when me and Alyssa were talking in the last episode, we were wondering how this was gonna end, and I think we also discussed about like how do they, you know, like how are they gonna figure out? At first I didn't know how they were gonna wrap this up. It was pretty clear that like Thrawn was gonna make it back, but also there was the thing that I sort of proposed, like, what if none of them make it back? You know, it's just like they strand themselves, but it was kind of a little bit of both, which was very surprising. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Thrawn gets back, but they all get to stay behind.
No, yeah, they literally just swapped places.
Yeah. But I'm curious if you think does Ahsoka and Sabine and everybody, do they eventually make it back and help with the fight against them?
Well,
or
I think so, but I want to get to the alternative when we get to the end of the episode, so we can talk about the
Great.
future. Yes, and.
Yes, and.
But Alyssa mentioned, and I am crediting this correctly, Alyssa said this.
So don't scream.
No, I said it. I don't know
Alyssa
what it
said
was, but I
this
said
next
it.
bit. The fight choreography for Ahsoka's confrontation with Morgan.
Very
is
cool. Stunning.
Thrilling, dangerous, high stakes.
And like
what other
fast.
adjectives you got? Fast, clean, precise,
And they didn't
calculated.
Yeah, I mean, Diana has worked as like a, you know, as well as like a, you know, stunt person and a martial artist and tons of stuff. She's also choreographed and directed a lot of fight choreography. And yeah, what a just like lucky thing.
Oh man.
They got her, and yeah, it just was seeing both of them, and you know how strong and capable both of those characters are.
Mm-hmm.
But to see them, because a lot of times, you know, we see a fight and it's like, okay, obviously like one person is significantly stronger, or in Star Wars, they're angry and they're using the dark side. So like eventually something's going to happen that slips them up. But
Right.
seeing, yeah, it was thrilling and scary and awesome.
I am curious too. You know, we the rules of Star Wars deaths have been kind of skewed since episode 1. In the sense that, you know, back in the day, a lightsaber to the stomach was certain death. Nowadays, it's questionable. She got double sliced, but like not like severed body, just like 2 slices to the tummy. It seemed to make her, you know, be fairly lifeless, but are we certain that she's not going to be around? Especially with the thought that she's been like, you know, thumbs to the eyeball, spooky witch times.
I mean, if there's another Night Sister around to bring her back, but I mean, I don't think she can bring herself back necessarily. I don't know.
Hard to say.
If you're gonna bring her
just,
back,
like,
it needs to serve the story, and
right, yeah.
I think it just boils down to that.
I
right.
think she's dead.
Yeah, I would be fine. I probably would be fine with either, as long if they.
And the Night Sisters can sense it. Like,
oh right, yeah, and they say that
one of the
she's
mothers
dead.
said
She's
Morgan
dead.
is dead. So
Yeah.
I think that.
I think she's dead.
I think she's
And it
dead.
does. It brings more weight to just like her reaction to. It's a little. It's sad and tragic on like because you know she got there. They like quote unquote rewarded her, but
all
you
that
can
way
see
for you,
it.
Thrawn. And
Yeah, and you can see it, but you can see it in her face. Like, she's not thrilled about it, but she's honored, but not thrilled, because she's like, this is almost like certainly a death sentence, And then and almost immediately after her getting her reward, they ask her to literally sacrifice her life. Oh my God! And she's just like, yeah, okay,
They're really
I'll do it.
They're subtle. They're subtle people, all of them.
Yeah, they don't waste any time. Those Reverend Mothers.
the Reverend Mothers.
Yeah, that's what we kept calling them all last episode.
we
Sister
we
Mary
couldn't figure it
Dathomir.
out. Sister Mary fake. Yeah, but I especially liked her acting choices in this. It rang true for me. It was good.
Yeah. Another great moment that kind of feels lovingly ripped from the cartoon is Ezra and Sabine kind of pulling a very Kanan Ezra maneuver.
The force pushing and pulling.
Push.
Yeah.
Force push and pull.
The old force push and pull.
The old force push and pull.
Yeah,
Give me an old force push and pull. I loved that Kevin Kiner took the opportunity to give us some force theme here when Sabine is launching him, and that was just a really fun moment.
It goes without saying too that Kevin Kiner, we've saying it almost every single episode, but
The music.
there was and
I'm so excited to listen to. I think I'm going to listen to it today on my run. Because
nice.
The original score is all out now.
Good.
There are 46 tracks.
Good.
And I'm already thinking of that track from the end of episode 5 with the Purgles. Just
It was gorgeous. I am curious, and I would love to know. I they've been doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff for a lot of these Filoni shows. I'm wondering. Because the music is so brilliant, there's like little subtle nuances that I'm curious if if it was his design, or if it was like the sound designer and him kind of working in in symphony. But there's the sound effects of Thrawn's ship, with the sirens and the this and the that, they felt like they were almost rhythmic, like they fit with it was very cool. Yeah,
all of it.
It all felt very symbiotic.
Did you think Sabine was going to stay behind with her?
Honestly, no.
Before the reveal,
because I thought that was a great flip, because we're immediately reminded of her choice to leave everybody behind and go search for Ezra. So we're thinking, oh, she's gonna do the same fucking thing over again, but then she didn't. So proud of her.
Well, how about this?
How about this?
How about this?
Okay.
Did either of you have even an inkling of concern that Ahsoka wasn't going to make it?
Yes. Definitely. There was danger.
Yeah, because that fight was. I mean, she could have absolutely killed her there.
Well, and they were setting it up.
They were
to where
it was so close, that fight.
Just some of the editing too, where Sabine looks back and Ahsoka's surrounded, and are we about to get the sacrificial moment that Kanan gave everybody? And my thinking immediately went to what we've talked about in the past. Well, eventually something has to happen to Ahsoka because she's not present in the sequels. And why isn't she?
You have said that every time we've talked about this.
And I was like, oh my God, we don't have a season 2 confirmed.
Is it now? Yeah.
Are they going to kill her now and then launch Sabine as a Jedi? Her last act was to make. Thank God it didn't happen here, but,
I'm glad they didn't do it here.
Yeah.
But I think the tension
unfortunately, I
was
do think that is coming eventually.
Although I
don't
do have
want
another question.
that.
I do have another question, and we're nearing the point where we can talk about it.
Okay.
Just let me talk about it.
Well, and when we briefly touched on Thrawn's indirect communication with Ahsoka, and what a great and sinister, and just leaves you kind of
What a
awful.
dick.
You're feeling awful about how it has very Empire Strikes Back vibes to it. It's like we got our asses kicked today, and then to see where they're headed specifically, and to have confirmation that Dathomir is going to be the
maybe the new base of operations.
That's very creepy.
Okay, so I mean, obviously there's a the connection because it's like we're going from one Night Sister place to the other, but we've also confirmed that for those of you that have played the new Star Wars video games,
Jedi Survivor
and Fallen Jedi,
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. The ancient race of the Zepho, that they exist on these two planets,
or did.
Yes. And very, very curious. If the fact that we've seen hints of them, it makes me feel like we haven't seen the last of it.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether or not, like we may get like a resurrection of an ancient Zepho force wielder or something.
It's possible.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not.
Because that is something we really haven't ever seen in Star Wars. Is just like I think that the Night Sisters is probably as ancient magic-y as we can as we've seen.
You know what my feeling on that is, they're introducing all of the Zepho imagery in live action here, not for anything in the future, but for a movie they are making about the past.
Ooh.
And we know we have that ancient Jedi movie on the horizon, and I think that's just to start wetting people's beaks to understand what is going on there.
That would be interesting. Because I believe I'm trying to remember like where it ends up going, because the Zepho, like, we find out like they sort of like leaned dark side heavy. Am I crazy, or did that sort of like, or did it sort of like ended up being that way towards the end of their reign, or whatever you want to say? But I need to go back.
I honestly need to refresh myself on the canon of that. I don't.
It's been a second.
I don't remember what their legacy ended up being.
I'm sorry if I'm spoiling anything for you guys, but out there who haven't played it, but it is absolutely worth it. Both games are beautiful. A little frustrating with some of the mechanics because it's hard. It's like
the temple stuff is.
It's
the puzzle.
Legit,
the puzzles
like,
and the
anger-inducing sometimes.
Yeah, that's why I stopped playing it.
Yeah, I understand. I feel that.
I was like, this is a game, and it should be fun, and I'm not having fun.
I'm angry.
I'm not having fun, so I'm not gonna.
Bye. See you later. But story-wise, it is well worth the adventure.
And there's a reason they're
narratively
incorporating it into the live action stuff now. I mean, because it really is wonderful storytelling, and
so I have Wikipedia pulled up here. Wikipedia for the Zepho sages.
Oh, thank you.
Force sensitive Zephonians who wielded the Force, which they referred to as the life wind. By the Imperial era, the sages were extinct along with their species. The three sages were Illyrim, Kujet, and Mictrol.
Kujet, that's right. And I think that the Kujet was the one that like, if people on the interwebs have deciphered some of the the not the hieroglyphics, but like the words that are on the temple there on in this different galaxy that we're in, and they mention that name.
Yeah, the Kujet is the dark side of the Force temple.
Excited.
So boop, boop,
no, wait,
boop.
it's
the other
that
two
is a
sages. Let me.
That was one Zepho named Kujet. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
So Kujet established his power on the planet Dathomir.
Yeah.
Dathomir
But
thrived,
apparently,
consumed with
well, I guess we don't
darkness.
really know for sure. Like if he started on Dathomir or if he started on the one in the old galaxy first and then moved there, or
Yeah, it
maybe
says
we'll find that out.
The tomb of Kujet was a symbol of Kujet's ruthless power, as they would cast rebels into the pits under their throne room.
That is so scary.
Yeah. So of the three sages, that one is on Dathomir
dick.
and really mean.
But
He's a
very
mean
interesting. Three sages, one good, one bad, and one maybe somewhere in between. Is that?
It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that, but I wonder
But
if that's
Daniel
what it is.
wants that to be. It just says the darkest of the three temples was the one that Kujet.
Yeah, he's
resided.
the spookiest. But yeah,
And that kind of follows a running theme here of.
Thank you.
Yes, that's the theme that Daniel loves the most of this.
Well, again, it's this. We're getting a lot of religious things, Holy Trinity. Can we talk about that for a second?
No.
If you want
All
to
right,
talk
well,
about that, fine.
This has been Inside the Tauntan.
Well, do you have stuff to add other than like speculation on who the three are?
Well, no, yeah, that too. But I mean, I am curious about the statues that we see at the end. I mean, it's obviously
those are those.
The Trinity,
Mortis gods.
The Mortis gods. Now, we clearly see the father and the son, but the daughter has been busted. Now you could probably just say that that was just weathering or whatever, but I mean, I and that could be just a fun environmental detail, but I feel that nothing is on accident, and it wasn't just the designers being cute. I think it was purposeful that the daughter's head is missing. I mean, she does represent the light side of the Force, and it doesn't feel like there's much light going on this here universe.
Arabia.
So I'm curious what that means. But or the daughter, you could say the daughter is missing, and I guess she has been until Ahsoka got there, because Ahsoka is sort of the embodiment of the daughter.
And then we see Morai.
Right.
We haven't seen in a while. And how did Morai
get there? Question mark. Is Morai even a real physical being? Apparently, maybe not.
I mean, it is the essence of the daughter. I mean,
yeah.
At the end of
She's
the day,
just always chilling when Ahsoka
if
is.
we've lost you at this point, so we've mentioned the Mortis gods.
I've lost
before,
me.
and this is derived from Dave Filoni's mind, and it first appeared in season 3 of Clone Wars. I watched the Mortis arc last night again, just to.
Cool.
It had been a long time since I'd actually sat down and watched those 3 episodes.
It's good.
Okay, so.
Okay.
So
did you watch it after you watched?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we've been introduced to, and I'm just going to do a basic rundown just for our listeners who are probably
and for me, please.
So the Mortis gods were these 3 beings that lived on this planet, and they're also known as the Ones. They're an embodiment of all the aspects of the Force. And you have the Father, who is kind of the balance between the Son, who represents the darkness, and the Daughter, who represents the light. Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka have a run-in with these 3 beings. We don't know whether they exist, whether Mortis, the planet, exists within our Star Wars galaxy. They even express, we don't know where we are right now.
Right.
Interesting to note. They possess unbelievable power, and at one point, the Son actually seduces Ahsoka, and then more prominently Anakin, and then even goes as far as to show Anakin his future. And there, yes, you heard that correctly. Anakin does have a moment where he experiences everything he's going to do, and it isn't until the father erases it from his mind that he's spared. And the father goes on to say, whatever you're going to do is going to bring balance to the Force. But in order for that to happen, you have to forget it. So the father basically tells us, the audience, by extension, that what Anakin does is necessary.
Yeah,
so let that sink in.
I'm literally dooming the galaxy to Darth Vader.
There has to be horrible darkness before incredible light.
And that is
yikes.
like kind of the embodiment of the balance of the Force, you know.
But these beings are viewed as gods, and they become mythological figures, and they're depicted through several mediums of Star Wars storytelling. We see them again in Rebels on a temple wall.
Yeah, you see them on 2 different murals.
Yeah.
One is in the episode Wolves and a Door, and the other is in A World Between Worlds.
Yeah. But interestingly, so we see this, to go back to Ahsoka, so we see Baylan scaling one of these statues, the outstretched arm of the father, which reminded me of Lord of the Rings.
Way Lord of the
easily.
Rings.
I
Yeah.
mean,
The Argonath
he's not
statues.
shying away from the Lord of the Rings.
The 2 kings on the
Yes.
entrance into the kingdom of Gondor.
Yep.
Oh,
but
God, I'm a really bad fan. I used to know the name of that.
The Argonath.
Yeah, the Argonath. Thank you.
And he's walking out on this arm, and the father is pointing at something in the distance, and you get this great shot of these mountains. And really, it's not until you either pause it or view a screenshot of the episode, but you see this beacon of light above one of the peaks of one of these mountains. I didn't think anything. I didn't even see it. So when I went back and watched the Mortis arc last night, there's a very similar beacon atop the monastery where the father resides. And the statue was built pointing directly at this beacon of light. So whatever Baylan is after is contained there, and this is what leads either to your imagination, or if you wanted to dive deep,
do it,
and you wanted to wonder about or speculate further about what it is Baylan is seeking.
Dive, Dino, dive.
There are a couple of ideas that have been presented.
Dive.
The first, it is mentioned in the Mortis arc. There are 2 locations: the font of power and the pool of knowledge. And these are mythological in their own right, and they have the power to corrupt if you were to imbue either of these entities. So could it be that Baylan has discovered the location of the font of power and the pool of knowledge, and if he were to use these, could he achieve his stated goal of returning to the beginning and then breaking the wheel, so to speak? And when he says returning to the beginning,
like quite
that is
literally
a really
going to the beginning of time?
Well, no, it's not time travel, but it's a compelling argument. Was the Force born? Do these entities represent the birth of the Force? And
and like
could
the
it give him some
midichlorians,
power
so to speak.
Could it give him some power to
kill it? Kill the Force at the source.
Or imbue himself with it and then destroy it and be the only one who can
wield it.
Wield this kind of power.
I alone can fix it.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, very compelling and super exciting.
Another one comes from what is now non-canon, but it is still spawned from the Mortis.
Are we talking about the mother now?
We're talking about the mother now.
Oh boy, yeah.
So we have not been.
Please help me with this.
In Clone Wars in Dave Filoni's storytelling, we hadn't been introduced to a mother figure.
It's always been a trinity.
But they'd done some hashing out in what is now called Legends, which is no longer canon with Disney, about who the mother is or was. And she drinks from the pool of knowledge and dives into the what is it called? The font of power. The font of power in the pool of knowledge. And it corrupts her.
And man,
she becomes,
it makes her look great.
She becomes an entity known as Abeloth, which is a terrifying force leech. I don't remember what her nickname was. It was like either like the Mistress of Chaos or Queen of some supernatural force entity that wreaks havoc, and
her mouth is way too big.
Could it be she is imprisoned
there
on this
planet, where that beacon is?
And her being unleashed would be
the thing people would be very afraid of.
She's
shape-shifting, she's mind-controlling, she's can travel great distances, like all of these really scary. I don't know if there's been a history of introducing Legends storytelling back into the new canon.
Totally.
Could that be the tomb or the prison where the father put her when she went cuckoo?
Like they started the Force in this galaxy. Abeloth effed it all up, and they said, "Okay, let's move to the next galaxy. Let's start over." And then that's where the stories that we all know began. And they left her behind, thinking they'd never have to deal with her again. That would be very interesting. I that being said, like trying to believe, because Baylan doesn't seem to be super like chaotic in his choices, because that would be like a very chaos choice to like unleash literal chaos.
Unless he just doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Yeah, that's also. I would
he was
believe
called
that
somewhere.
Yeah, and like, and he could be being fooled, and would be a very. I mean, I hate to talk about it in a light way, but it would be a relatively easy way to end Baylan's story quite quickly, because I mean, the second that lady is unleashed, it's like. I don't imagine him being
sure.
Oh my God! Thank you so much for unleashing me. I'm going to keep you around.
I don't think that has anything to do with Ray Stevenson's passing, though. Like I don't think.
I
don't think that storytelling would be like used to also take him off the board just because.
No, certainly, of course, but I mean, I can't imagine.
Your point is well taken. Like,
yeah.
All he knows is he's been called to this place. He's hearing voices. And like I don't know, call it a siren call maybe, and maybe whatever that is. He's made a big mistake, and
that's what everyone says when she does it. She
comes
out.
But it has to be something that the Night Sisters really have to be terrified of to want to get away from here.
I like this idea. I hope
Me
it's
too.
that. I hope it's that.
And if you're looking for something that perhaps, if unleashed, is a real problem for Thrawn, or a bigger problem than Thrawn. That
assumedly yes.
But now that we're here, not to throw too much on the table all at once.
Oh, it's so fun. I'm loving this.
So Daniel asked the question about where we thought the storytelling going forward would be handled. Would we have two different like? So here's my thought, and it's far-fetched, and I'm probably going to eat my words on it.
Hey, do it. This is very brave.
Thank you. I'm being very brave here. I
We always have incredibly wrong theories. So.
And I just chalk this up. I'm excited about this one.
That's
and
okay. Go ahead.
I'm 99% sure it's not happening.
That's okay. It's fun. It's fun to speculate.
So we've wondered why Ahsoka wasn't present during the sequel trilogy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we've long stated it's probably because she's dead. What if she and Sabine don't leave Peridia in time to deal with the events
trapped.
of quote-unquote heir to the Empire?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I literally...
What if they are there until after the sequel trilogy? And this Abeloth threat doesn't become one until after the sequel trilogy.
Thank you. Yes.
Well,
they have no means of escaping. Unless we do the whole song and dance of Ezra getting a hyperdrive powerful enough to go back and get them. What would be the point of doing all that again?
Yep. And truthfully, what kind of a threat would be worth talking about after the Emperor?
Right, and we know we're getting a movie with Rey set after the events of the sequel trilogy. So what kind of threat that is not Empire adjacent is worthy enough for a whole nother movie, or maybe even maybe a trilogy?
Trilogy, yeah.
Yeah. I like that idea a lot.
And if you want to keep Ahsoka involved, then maybe that's the way you do it.
She's not dead. She's just literally been...
She's been gone.
She's been trapped in another
the same
galaxy.
Way that
but
Ezra and Thrawn were.
We've literally been saying that, ever since we knew that that we were getting a show, and ever since we saw her in The Mandalorian, we're like, well, where the was she in the fight with the, so we're thinking that there must be a way that they're going to explain her just not being there. I refuse to believe that she's dead. Damn it.
And look, where we are now in the timeline where Ahsoka takes place, we're only about 20 years out from Force Awakens. So it's not like we're talking a century.
Yeah, it's not that much
it's
of a
not
jump,
far-fetched for her to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, Thrawn's already been there 13 years. He's been trapped 13 years.
Right.
I think, I don't know, if you want to include these characters in Star Wars storytelling going forward, you just built the mechanism to do it without having to go, well, why weren't you here? And we now know.
No, yeah.
I guess the only I don't know if it's really a hole in that is now that Ezra is in this universe, and also Jason. I'm just thinking about the other Force sensitives that are potentially
it gives him room and space for storytelling of him training Jason at some point, without also having to weave in Sabine and Ahsoka into that story. And
I guess you'll also have to tell the story of why they're also not around for that fight. And I guess you could, and it pains me to say, but I mean, really the only note we've got about them, so not them, sorry, about Jedi post the original trilogy. Oh God, is that they all died at the hands of Kylo Ren. I feel like that would be a really sad and kind of potentially I wouldn't say lame ending, but to Ezra's storyline. I feel like that's not going to be it.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens there, but that's the beauty of what maybe Ezra is a casualty of whatever happens with.
I have another thought.
Thrawn, yes, please.
We have been getting light to not light hints of what they're calling the path.
Yeah, to Peridia.
Sorry, not to Peridia. No. Isn't that what they're calling it? They're calling it the path. It's the path for Force sensitives to be sort of it's like the Underground Railroad for Force sensitives.
From Obi-Wan.
Yes.
That.
Exactly.
Was that called the path? What was that called?
Am I crazy? I thought it was called the path. They also use that phrase in the video games as well.
Okay.
So they're placing these little hints throughout these new new IPs, and it feels purposeful. It's like it's very like small seeds, so it
You're
feels
right,
like
Daniel. It's just called The Path.
it is called the path. Okay, great.
Yeah.
The perhaps that's maybe where I could see maybe Ezra going to help out with that. Whatever
Well,
that
also,
is.
you know,
And Cal Kestis and all
Ezra
them.
does have access to the world between worlds, or has
Right.
demonstrated access to it in the past. So
Sure.
you always have that as an out to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know in what manner,
That's true.
but
That's so
no,
true.
you're absolutely right, Daniel. That why not? I mean,
The path is going to come up again, and I feel like my guess is probably not until the sequel trilogy.
well, I can't help but feel like the more I've seen of this, and because they do have a little housekeeping to do in terms of, we've talked about it a little bit, in terms of whatever happens in this 30-year window between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. It feels like it's going to be really impactful, and like a Thrawn return and wreaking havoc on the galaxy. It's never mentioned in Force Awakens, obviously. I mean, like at that time, whatever has happened in those 30 years isn't really mentioned. So if it is something cataclysmic, then they do have to explain why it's not really talked about.
Well, my only guess in that regard is that perhaps they don't really win. Perhaps it's like they win in the sense that they defeat Thrawn, but they basically have like spoon-fed the next generation to like start the First Order.
Yeah, but like at this time, like the First Order is already kind of, and again, this comes from like the books and whatnot, that the First Order is already kind of percolating. And as far as we know, Thrawn has no direct role in their creation. Now, maybe you could change that. And you know, maybe he does take on a more direct.
I guess, yeah, in that regard, like, how does he switch gears? Like does he get in contact with, because, yeah, maybe I need to go back and watch the movies. Like, do they really, is there any, you know, like the history of the First Order? Like, this is the person who founded it. Yeah?
Kind of, but not anything definitive.
Not super detailed.
I will say in The Mandalorian, you'll remember you get that scene with all the Imperial warlords and Gideon's talking to all of them. Now, you'll remember
the Dark Council or whatever they call it?
The Shadow Council.
Shadow Council.
General Hux's father, Brendel Hux,
yes.
is present at that meeting.
Yeah.
And he is one of the founders of the First Order. His dad is one of the founders.
Got it.
So there's connections.
Yeah.
They're there.
Okay.
But I do think Ahsoka primarily is being used to set up what happens after the sequel trilogy.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And
I do. I really do.
That's right.
Yeah, because I mean that's a very
That's so
exciting
exciting.
prospect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm thrilled for it makes me thrilled for all three different films that are coming out, like the prequel, the sequel, and
also
pre-sequel.
we've talked. God,
Jeez Louise.
We've talked a lot about like Star Wars storytelling going forward, maybe leaving the Skywalker saga in the past. But what a great way to honor it while also not directly dealing with
Doing
it, while
new
having
stories. Yeah.
Rey and perhaps Ahsoka and people who were directly influenced by Skywalkers but aren't necessarily Skywalkers themselves carrying on the legacy. You know, the whole thing about found family and maybe Skywalker becoming a state of mind. Excuse me.
Bless you.
That sounds like a song in the making, and I hate it.
Skywalker
Skywalker
state of
mind. Yeah. Wow.
I don't know.
Sounds cool.
I'm really excited, gang.
Me too. I don't know what else there is to be said about the show other than obviously I really liked it. I guess maybe I don't know if you're ready to sort of wrap things up. I know we've already been talking for an hour and a half. We probably should.
This last 10 minutes was too much for me.
If you've made it this far into this episode,
holy moly!
I don't think there.
Like, what
if
the
there
fuck
are
is an
any
Abeloth?
of you, there's one of you maybe one of you managed to make it an hour and a half into this thing.
God bless you for it.
But
what is a pool of knowledge? I mean, what?
Yeah, right.
Where did they talk about that?
So I guess one of my final questions for you, because I am curious, like where in the shows that we've gotten.
I thought you were about to ask where do you think it's going, and I was like, that's what we've been talking about.
That's what we've
So
been talking about.
where do you think it's
for
but
one
but
whole
now,
hour?
But where do you actually think it's going?
Really think it's going? No. In the scheme of the shows that we've gotten so far from Disney Plus, where does this sit for you?
Alyssa.
Star Wars wise.
Oh, I think Daniel and I answered that last week, but we can.
And it still says the same for you, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, Andor #1.
Okay, so now Ahsoka is because Ahsoka was at number 1 for you, so it's taken a number 2 spot now.
They're tied.
It got demoted.
No, okay. If I had to choose, if there was a blaster to my head,
Fucking choose.
if I had to choose,
This is Dave Filoni. Gun to your head.
Ahsoka #1, Andor #2, Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 #3.
Specifically.
You people?
I would probably I think I would agree with that. Okay. I will never forget how I felt though with seasons 1 and 2 of Mandalorian, man. Yeah. They were thrilling.
Yeah,
and emotionally impactful. So it's hard. Yeah. They're all 3 of those shows are kind of at a close, like very, very
me too. Now I'm thinking that I might want to switch Mando and Andor.
I mean, Andor is
it's your favorite, not necessarily
phenomenal.
what's objectively
Yeah.
the best
Yeah,
crafted.
no, just my favorites. Those are my 3 favorites in no particular order, but also kind of that order.
Yeah.
Okay, Dino?
Ahsoka's #1 for me now.
Whoa!
Andor is #2.
The poop show.
I want to say, well, yeah, I'm almost directly copying you. But Mando season 1 and 2 is 3, and the number 4 is the finale of Obi-Wan.
Oh
yeah,
my God,
great.
the finale was incredible.
Amazing.
And I know that like it's
Plus
so
your bonus materials.
Damn. I was like, damn him for doing this twice and getting me both times. The end of Obi-Wan, like showing the freaking Force ghost of Qui-Gon literally had me beside myself crying
because
in
that
tears.
was a full surprise. We didn't.
Oh my
but
God!
just
we didn't know
with,
for sure. We hoped that was
with Hayden and Ewan. Obviously, the fight was awesome. I wish it wasn't so shaky cam, but I would have liked to have actually seen it. But but it was epic. The interaction where Obi-Wan apologizes to him.
Oh, yes.
Like, I think that's my favorite moment of Star Wars TV thus far.
Very peak Star Wars. And then at the very end of this, season, getting the Force Ghost of Anakin, which was like very, like I think anybody could have told you that was going to happen, and it happened, and I still fucking cried. It was beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well.
On that note, I think we should 18 hours later say goodbye.
12 hours later.
Thanks for listening, you one person. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. This is Inside the Tauntan. We will be covering Loki coming up next.
Yeah, we're going to put Star Wars on the shelf for a little bit.
So Star Wars will be...
Loki
yeah,
comes
we've
out
got
tonight.
lots of Marvel content coming out. We've got Loki. We've got the Marvels.
Yeah, we've been on a little bit of a hiatus there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so this will be fun. Take a little breather from Star Wars and get into Marvel.
You guys go look up who Abeloth is. Thank me later.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I'm also going to do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, have some good nightmares about her. And This is Inside the Tauntaun.
It is?
I am Alyssa Simmons.
You are. And I'm also Daniel Dawson.
You're also.
You're also Daniel Dawson.
Yes, I am.
All
I
right.
am also Daniel Dawson.
What?
Also, may the force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.